All right, no intro. We don't do intros around here. For everyone listening, Jake, why don't you just give a short introduction?
I went to University of North Dakota, where is how Will and I know each other, and I played college football there. I now have turned into a ultramarathon runner over the past year. I have completed two 50-mile races. I've completed a 63-mile winter ultra, and now next week I'm tackling a 100-mile race, and I'm in vet school right now. And yeah, that's me.
How would you approach endurance athletes in the weight room?
Weight training is one of the most important facets of your training prep. So being able to build strong legs big muscles will in turn make your tendons bigger. And I'm sure, Will, like a lot more of the actual science behind this, but that allows you to have a higher, I guess, threshold for injury prevention, because so many of the injuries you get with running is tendonitis. That is a death sentence of all ultra runners, is Achilles tendonitis. When I first started running, I did have Achilles tendonitis a little bit, and my body was able to, because of like all the lifting and everything like that, and I was able to get through it pretty quickly. But some people have it for like months, and it is horrible. It is absolutely horrible. So that's why, like, I think endurance athletes need to be lifting. I think one, that injury prevention, that Achilles tendonitis is such a big facet that'll bring you down as a runner. And then the second thing is, a lot of runners just look like twigs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Like, you don't need to be built like a stick in order to run long distances effectively. I think
How much do you weigh right now?
like 192, 193.
What'd you play football at?
I was pretty much my entire career, I was between 200 and 210.
So you
And
haven't
then,
really lost that much for what
no,
you're doing now.
my senior year, I got up to 220, but really I'm very similar to, and I had to eat like an insane amount when I was playing. And I just don't have to eat like that anymore, because I just don't have to be that big. So it's
Yeah.
not really like, because I'm a runner, I've lost all this weight, and I'm not going to be lifting anymore. I think a lot of runners just choose not to lift just because their time is occupied by running. But I really feel like you should do both, because you know what's cooler than running 100 miles is being able to run 100 miles and also squat a house.
How many days a week are you running? And
Yeah.
then how many days a week are like most ultra marathoners running? And what's like the average length of a race for you?
So the
Because it's not
average,
always the same length, right?
yeah, they're all different. I've been like climbing. So I've done the 250s, 63, and now I'm going to 100. So what I average a week in my training is between like 50 to 70 miles. If I'm like really locked in on my running, I run 6 days a week. I lift 5 days a week. And the day 7 is just like an active rest and recovery day, where I might go for like a super short, low heart rate run, or I'll like bike. And then most ultra runners run about every day, or they do about 6 days a week. I don't know about their lifting, because nobody really talks about it that much. And if you like baseline, when you're not in like your full on training camp, 50 to 70 miles a week, baseline is considered like 20 to 30 miles a week as an ultra runner. So that's kind of like, I guess, the numbers that people tend to follow in ultra running, because it's just not practical to be able to run. I mean, some people run like 100 miles a week, but it's just not practical to be able to do that consistently.
Do you lift first or do you run first?
I do like to run first, just because I like to get up early in the morning and go for a run. But actually, what I've been doing and what I've found more effective is I will run after my lift. And there's really one main reason that I've done that, is because then especially like after a leg day, then your legs are cooked and you get used to running on just dead legs, because
So you like lifting first for that reason.
exactly.
And you'll
So
squat. You'll squat heavy, and then you'll run right
yes, and
after.
I'll squat pretty heavy, and then I'll go and run like a half marathon. And it'll be to get my body just to be used to running on dead legs. Because in an ultra marathon, after mile 10, your body doesn't feel good. And you just have to keep going, and you just have to like be used to just running on just dead legs.
So you're in vet school. Do you ever break those two training sessions up?
So with my vet school schedule, like it depends on the semester, but more often than not, we have like a 2 hour break in the afternoon, which usually I can get my run in the afternoon. I'll lift in the morning. I get up at 5 pretty much every day, and I'll go to the gym and lift. Then I have class from like 7 to like 10. And then I have that 2 hour window where I will go for a run, whether it's like a 5 to 15 mile run. And then I go back to class at like, 1 o'clock or something like that. If I have to, I'll run at night. Every now and then, if I need to put in like a 20-mile run day and I don't have the time to do it all in one sitting, I'll do like a 15-mile run in the afternoon, and then I'll do like the last 5 miles at night. I just find the time to get it in when I can, but usually I like to run in the middle of the day. And part of that is also because that's when it's the hottest. And especially like you just got to get used to running in like the worst of the worst situations. So like running in the time of day when it's 90 degrees out is better for you in your training than running when it's like 70 and the sun's just coming up.
So get specific about your lifting now.
Yeah. So first thing I do is every time I get to the gym, I do like a really long warm up and mobility warm up. And it's not like just sitting there on my phone and like theragunning my legs like an asshole. It's not like it's not just sitting there and stretching. A lot of it is just like mobility and like rotational work. And I incorporate core exercises into every single warm up. And then it's usually about 15 minutes. And so I'm talking like foam roll. I'll do like T-spine rotation work. I'll do like rocking series to get my hips, and I'll do like hip mobility exercises just to kind of like, because I want to be able to stay mobile, and a tight leg is a slow leg. So I just want to be able to try and keep my flexibility, and mobility is good. It just helps, I think, with my performance. So then my lifting days are usually Monday, or the days of the week are kind of arbitrary, but it's really like chest and back, and then it's an arm day, and then it's like 2 leg days a week. And 1 leg day tends to be more of like auxiliary stuff. And then the other leg day tends to be like big squat, big compound lift day. And then my last, like the 5th day of lifting tends to be more like explosive plyometric stuff. So I start with that big warm up, and then I go into, I love compound exercises. So like on my upper body days, it'll be like a big bench, big row, something like that, deadlifts. And then I like to do a lot of single leg, I like to do a lot of like body weight work. So we'll do a lot of pull-ups, a lot of weighted pull-ups, a lot of dips, a lot of push-ups. And then for my leg days, what I like to do is like the big compound lift, big squat. And then I like to do a lot of single leg work. So Bulgarian split squats, single leg RDLs, pistol squats, a lot of isometric work as well. I'll do lunges where I do an iso hold. I usually like to do that as like a burnout at the end, where I'll do like 15 seconds at an elevated position, 15 seconds at a 90-degree angle, and 15 seconds below 90. And I mean, my sets and reps really vary. I just kind of go like, I mean, it's not like super in depth, but I'll do like sets of higher, like 1 week I'll do like 10 to 15 reps. The next week I'll drop to like 6 to 8. The next week I'll drop to like 3 to 5, and so on. And then once I do that, I'll restart it. And I like to change my movements a lot. So like I'll always do some sort of squat variation, whether it's Zercher or back squat. I'll always then do some sort of single leg like squat variation, whether it's a pistol squat or like a Bulgarian split squat.
I want to know why you do the plyos. I feel like I would definitely recommend doing plyos, even for like runners like yourself. But I would assume, I don't know many runners, I would assume a lot of them don't do plyos.
I think it is completely out of ignorance. I mean, it's just as a runner, you're not thinking like I need to be able to be like functionally explosive. But I think explosiveness is really important. And I like to do a lot of like plyometric work, one for the safety of like injury prevention, because it's like a functional thing to me. And then the second thing is, I think when you're like very springy and explosive on your feet, you just have a better, I just think you have better like outcomes on your runs and you're more of a powerful runner. Here's the other thing too. A lot of these races, you're going downhill and like there's like steep downhills and a lot of people can't handle that because it's just a lot of force on your legs. And I think through doing like plyometric and explosive work and being able to like be functionally explosive, I have built the ability to just like charge down a hill without feeling like hell. You know, does that make
Yeah.
sense?
The way I would
Yeah,
put it is the stronger your tendons are, being able to complete all of those ground contacts at the feet is just going to come at a lower metabolic cost within the muscles. So you're just letting the tendons do the work, and the
exactly.
metabolic cost is a lot lower. So that's
And
the way I would that's the way I would describe it to someone who may be opposed to doing plyos as a runner.
really think about your calf muscle. You have this massive spring of the Achilles tendon. And then so like every step, that Achilles tendon is like basically popping. So I think if you are able to like utilize that and having a strong Achilles, not only will you not get hurt, but also you're going to become a more effective runner because you can just put out more force. If you were to write up a workout program for a guy who says, "Hey, I want to run a marathon. I want to what type of weight training should I do? What kind of stuff would you recommend?"
First thing I would do is I would ask them how many days a week they want to lift, how many days they're already running, and then like figuring out what their work schedule is like. If they go to school, what their school schedule is like, so they can actually adhere to the program. I would try to come up with a program that they can put as much effort in it as possible at the lowest cost. I would probably do a lot of basic barbell work, a lot of exercises that's going to train organism systemically, a lot of squatting, a lot of hinging, a lot of pushing, pulling, just like the basic barbell lifts. And as far as like sets and reps goes, I'd probably keep the number of sets pretty low. And honestly, the number of like, are you familiar with Chris Beardsley effective reps model? Um, Basically, his model is in order for a rep to be effective in inducing strength or hypertrophy, it has to have a low concentric contraction speed and a high motor unit recruitment. So basically, it means like you have to put a lot of effort into the lift, and it has to be slow. So I would try to figure out like the minimum effective dose with the effective reps, and that's going to come with trial and error. Everyone's going to respond a little bit differently,
Mm-hmm.
but try to use that model and prescribe the lowest amount that they need in order to see the adaptations that are desired. Practice a session, let's just say they're lifting 4 days a week. I'd probably just put them on an upper lower split because that makes programming really easy. On the lower body days, one squat variation, the other lower body day, another squat variation. Probably keep the number of working sets to 3 or less for the squats. I probably give them something like an RDL or a Nordic hamstring curl, something to hit the backside. Same kind of thing, low number of working sets, relatively low number of working reps. And then honestly, I might just call it quits for that. Maybe we'll do some unilateral work. Maybe we'll do some like single joint work just to give their tissues a little bit more volume so that they can really it's just really armor building at that point. You can give them a little bit more work with the upper body just because it's less taxing than the lower body. But something like a bench press variation, another bench press variation on the other upper body day, pull-ups, heavy dumbbell rows, Henley rows. Be pretty simple, really. Let them expend as much energy as they need in the running, um, and just give them the minimum effective dose in the weight room.
The other thing I would ask you is, so I'm a runner and I'm like, well, all my running is on my legs. Why would I need to work upper body? So what's your opinion just on how like maybe like a runner would utilize their upper body?
So as a runner, I would say I have no idea, but
Yeah.
just being generally healthy, it's good to have a relatively large amount of muscle mass compared to the rest of the population. So I would just frame it from a health aspect. You're
For sure.
probably better off growing muscle than not growing muscle generally. Is it going to help you with running? I don't know. Probably not, because you're just adding mass to the lower that the lower body has to carry.
So since there are so many people in this like space, and there's a lot of people that are writing ebooks and coaching, and especially on like social media and giving out advice, making videos, how do you separate yourself, and how do you kind of get the draw for people to, I guess, listen to you over somebody else, and make yourself stand out in a way?
Sort of talked about this before on some other podcasts, but I think at least for me, the biggest thing for me is that I have, I'd say, two skill sets, where most people only have one of these two, and one of them is like knowledge in training. This like, I don't want to use the term evidence based because I make fun of that term, but like that's principle based, science based. I have like a model that I use to structure the way I like deliver my message. And then the second thing is that I am physically gifted, so people, I can just post myself squatting a lot of weight or lifting something heavy or doing something that's like impressive physically. So I can draw eyes that way, and then I can draw eyes by like communicating a message that's pretty brief that still gets the point across. And it's not that I like dumb down the message, but I feel like I use language in the messaging that a lot of people can consume pretty easily. So I think I have like those two skill sets and I combine them pretty well. And that's really how I try to separate myself from other people. Obviously, it's not like I have the biggest audience in the world. Like there's people who do a lot better than I do. But I think that'd be like the thing that separates me. So like there's a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge base and they can deliver a really solid quality, high quality message. But then if you see them and they're not physically impressive, people are going to look at that person and think, why should I listen to you? Because I'm stronger than you, or you know what I mean? Like that's
Exactly.
a real thing in life. And then on the other side, there's going to be people who are really physically impressive, but they just can't communicate their message very precisely, I guess, and it kind of hinders their growth a little bit.
I've had so many coaches in my life just through football. And I always kind of fall back to like, I think about what coaches did I learn the most from, which coaches were the most effective in my life. And I always fall back to one, do they practice what they preach? And then two is, are they extremely knowledgeable about it? If you are both, you could be one or the other, exactly like you said, and you could be a good coach. But the ones that are great, the ones that high level athletes are very attuned to, and the ones that I think are able to help you the most are the ones that can do both. The one that's, and I think that's got to be part of the reason why you post all the squats and all the stuff that you're doing, is because you want to show that, hey, I'm not just sitting here talking. I'm not just
Yeah.
sitting here writing stuff. I'm doing what I'm saying.
The other thing with like putting out content is, um, at least like if I were to give advice to someone who wants to start putting out content, I would say before you like post your content, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is, before you post that, you should ask yourself, would I want to consume this content that I'm putting out? Like, is it really surface level? Because I think there's a lot of content that's really surface level. Like you see so many posts like 5 reasons why you should be taking creatine, or like the 5 reasons you should be getting 8 hours of sleep. And it's like, it makes me wonder, like, what's the audience that these people are trying to reach? Because one, if you're already interested in training and health and performance and exercise and all these things, that surface level messaging, the people you're reaching already kind of know that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like you're not reaching very far. So I that's my biggest advice. Like, would you want to consume that content? Do you want to read another post about like the 3 reasons you should be taking creatine, which like everyone's already heard before, and like what people read in their CSCS textbook? You know what I mean? And the thing about like with sleep is first graders, second graders, they're being told by their teachers how important it is to sleep. Like you're not going to convince some 30-year-old guy that they need to get 8 hours of sleep, especially if they have like a work schedule where they're up at 5 a.m. Like people are aware of this stuff already, and then they kind of just live according to the demands of their schedule already. So I would just say like, would you actually want to consume the content that you're putting out? If the answer is yes, you're probably on the right track. If the answer is no, you might want to just switch something up. But that's like up to everyone who's putting out content to decide for themselves.
Yeah. And it does take time to like, I guess, get your message right. It does. Just
Yeah.
like being able to like, I know what I want to say, but just learning how to get it to an audience, that's hard. But it's it's gonna just take time and like understand that. And just like I've been only like posting stuff for like 2 months, and there's a lot of things that I want to tell, and there's a lot of things that I could talk about and elaborate on. But it's I have noticed that I've gotten better at
Yeah, I was
saying
going
it.
to ask, have you found yourself getting better at delivering your message, taking out certain things that you like? For me, when I first started doing YouTube, my YouTube videos were like 6 minutes long. Now they're like a minute and a half because I feel like I can filter in and out like which sentences are necessary and which sentences aren't necessary in a video. So like the way I make YouTube videos is I stand in front of my camera and I talk for 15 to 20 minutes and I just slice out the sentences that I want to say and don't want to say. Whereas before, I would like think I need to jam pack all of this information in. And then if you look at the analytics, like 3 years ago, my 6 minute videos, people would watch like 40 seconds and close out. But
Oh,
now if you look at the analytics now and I have like a 90-second video, people watch 75 seconds of that 90 seconds.
well,
So like,
this goes back to just I guess the attention span of people nowadays. Is it's all this quick stuff, this quick stimuli. Everyone's on iPads and their phones and looking at quick YouTube shorts and all this stuff. So a lot of times it's hard, I guess, for you to catch somebody's attention. And my videos tend to be about 4 to 6 minutes long. And how I do it is I just do a straight monologue. I get
yeah, you have no cuts in yours.
nope.
It's actually really impressive that you're able to do that.
It usually takes me like 2 or 3 tries, but I do like I have like 3 ideas that I want to talk about. I have these 3 points I want to hit, and then I just go. And a lot of times I'll fuck up and I'm just like, oh, I got to restart, even though I just did 4.5 minutes. But so that part I will say is it's hard for me to be clear and concise because I like to do it like that. But I have noticed that I don't I don't like draw on things as much, and I just am a lot more straight to the point because I'm trying to convey it in a way that just makes sense. But it's just I guess simplicity is more important because a lot of times people try and overcomplicate things, and I think it's an appeal to sound more intelligent.
Exactly. That's
And
that's exactly what I used to do.
people see right through that. And like versus like what I do is I'm just like, hey, this is why lifting as a runner should be utilized. It's going to help your body prevent injuries, and it's just you want to be a stronger person in life. It'll just be better for you. I could sit there and go in all on the science about myofibers, and but it's like really it's just like, hey, lifting's good for you. Just do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah.
100%.